What's going on, Don't Unfriend Me Nation, episode 462 of the Don't Unfriend Me podcast. Good to have you here tonight. What are we talking about? I can't believe it's been a week since we have done the listeners and haters episode. We're doing the same thing. We're taking questions tonight. There's going to be a mixture of questions from threats by people to Donald Trump questions to the energy crisis and a few others. I'll do my best to answer them, and I will bring it all to you in just a few seconds, right after this.
Hey, Hogs Twins here. Check out our friend Matthew Spirit at his podcast at The Dumb Show and his website, don'tunfriendme.com. Yeah.
Once again, thank you for watching the Don't Unfriend Me Show. This is Matthew Spear. Can't remember if I did that or not. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. We go live at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We do a recorded show like this one, usually 5 times a week, depending upon how busy it is. Thanks for joining us this evening. Why is my logo in the middle of the screen? Folks, it's just one of those days. It's Indictment Day. We should all be so excited and celebrate it. So much for Pride Month. Let's focus on Indictment Day. Donald Trump, probably one of the first questions I received this week that kind of continued throughout the entire week. Most people wanted to know about, what's going to happen, how is it going to happen, all of those things. So let's get to it. I know people are eager to get the show started today. First things first, Donald Trump, of course. The question is from Allison Shen. Says, Matt, are they going to perp walk Trump out like some criminal? Well, this is what foresight brings us. As I wrote this before this happened, and I wound up being correct. I'll walk you through what I wrote, but also tell you a little bit of an update. Tonight, I will be going over the indictment. I've got all 16 pages of it and all 34 felony charges in the first degree to go over it with you. It's a little bit ridiculous, so stay tuned for that. But no mugshot. At least has been released as of yet. No handcuffs. And the perp walk really wasn't a perp walk. Trump was solemn, quiet, determined, like always, walked in, sat down, waited about an hour, and then it was over. Of course, everyone's like, he was arrested, this giant thing, and putting him in an orange jumpsuit. It was really ridiculous and more of a dog and pony show. But let's go ahead and, talk about what happened in a little bit more detail. Donald Trump, of course, should be treated with respect of a former presidency. I don't care what you do, how you do it. If you were a president of these United States, you do deserve a modicum of respect, at least for the presidency. You guys know how I feel about this. I've talked about it quite a bit. And he wasn't subjected to the indignity of a perp walk, so to speak, unless he really wants it. And Trump, more than likely wants as much attention on this as possible because he pled not guilty and felt that this is a trumped up charge. No pun intended. Law enforcement gave him the opportunity to come in on his own and be processed. They also gave him an option, this is reported, to Skype in, and Trump declined. And honestly, I completely agree with him. If you're going to go ahead and put me in a situation where I have to defend my honor, my integrity, and my innocence, because let's face it, everyone is already assuming he's guilty, even though it's not the way we're supposed to do things. I would want to make sure that I would be seen from top to bottom as often as possible when it came to this and draw as much attention to it as I could. But if he avails himself to the opportunity, his attorney would be present at the facility and he would be out in no time flat. No muss, no fuss, just like I said. He won't spend any time behind bars and didn't spend any time behind bars or be a public spectacle. Once again, Donald Trump was very quiet. A lot of people thought that he was going to take this stage. He was going to get on the microphone. That's not what he did. He was, like I said, very determined, got in, got out, and did exactly what he was supposed to do. Now, as far as this gag order, if a judge decides to place a gag order on him, and I haven't heard that they have at this point, it should have been done at the arraignment, and it will limit the opportunity for Trump to say anything. And we saw his counsel kind of do the talking like I thought he would, and jump in and really kind of take the brunt of this, the before portion. After portion, they got into their black vehicle and left. But beforehand, his counsel had a few things to say. And honestly, when it comes down to this is not going to be a quick process. This is going to go on for more than likely after the 2024 election. People better get used to it. However, I would expect to see charges be decreased. You're going to see the defense of Donald Trump try to plead this down as far as they can, or ultimately take it to trial because the evidence is so weak. This is why the federal government didn't touch it in the DOJ. This is why Bragg said he wasn't going to touch it. I imagine a lot of this is going to be dismissed and whittled down. And then when it gets to the actual discovery phase and what evidence the grand jury found, I have a feeling there's going to be a whole bunch of nothing burger. But it is what it is. Let's see what happens, and that's the best answer I can give you right now based on the information. Tonight, come on in and watch the live show, and I'll have some more information for you when we break down the indictment. Next question is, why didn't the police do a better job in Nashville and clear all of the school at the same time? I'm assuming this person is talking about the first and second floor. This is bootlicker. No bootlicker is the name of the person, probably very anti-police, as he has a picture of George Floyd. So I will answer this and try to take it as serious as possible. Best practices in an active shooter scenario is to move fast and toward gunfire if you hear shooting, and slow down when you don't hear shooting. This is obviously because somebody may be laying in wait and playing possum or hiding and creating some sort of ambush for you. You want to assess the situation. If there is active gunfire, you can assess where it's coming from, and then obviously your entry point would be based upon where that gunfire is coming from. It's a little bit hard to discern in a close quarter combat situation, but these are trained professionals and they obviously know how to do that. Upon entering the building and having no idea where the shooter was, they cleared each room they passed, though very, very quickly. This wasn't like a situation where Uvalde, where they were taking way too long, or in Florida or other shootings where people didn't go in and kind of ran from the situation. This was handled and executed perfectly. Once they heard gunfire, they moved very quickly toward it and solved the problem. Simple. What you don't ever do is to wait for a bunch of cops to do an orderly clearing of the building. Officers reasonably assume that there is likely only a single shooter, and you probably only have a small group of officers to clear each room, 2 to 4, depending on department policy and time. You assume that as other officers arrive, they will do the rest of what needs to be done. They'll clear the other spaces, evacuate people, and treat any wounded. But the initial responders' job, their only job, is to close on the enemy and deliver lethal fires, period. Nashville PD did exactly their job. They rapidly moved towards the gunfire and immediately, no option to surrender is given, shot the enemy until they were down for good. It's pretty simple. Anybody that wants to critique and be a Monday morning quarterback is fine. Everything in retrospect can be analyzed and picked apart. But in a real-time situation, and the situation where it's so fluid and there is a large amount of fog of war, for these officers to do what they did and to execute their mission with extreme prejudice, they should be awarded, rewarded, and recognized, not having some asshat called no bootlicker question their motives and the quality of their work. Just my opinion. You don't necessarily have to go ahead and take it too personal. The next question I have is from a lady, and her name is Queen Sus, and she's got a Hillary Clinton. What's up with all the liberals? Why do you repugnants, I'm assuming she's talking Republicans, that's a little bit better than Republitards, hate alternative energy and better options for energy? We don't. I don't know what you're talking about. George Bush, his administration, W. Bush Jr., was a huge proponent of nuclear energy. And if the left was truly serious about combating climate change, it would be as well. There is, however, a major segment of the environmentalist lobby that opposes nuclear, and so forces the developed world to fight climate change with one hand tied behind its back and one leg in an ass-kicking contest against the energy crisis. Further, Republicans are not against forms of energy like wind, solar, and hydroelectric. Just as an example, look at my wonderful state of Texas that I just left. The prototypical red state and a major oil producer gets about 40% of its energy from wind, solar, and nuclear. And it led the nation in new renewable projects last year. Even when the windmills froze and other sources of energy failed, oil ultimately went ahead and did what it was supposed to do, minus a few frozen pipes, and obviously how to exfil that oil became very complicated during a complete freak ice freeze in Texas, where it usually doesn't get cold enough to do much damage. What Republicans are actually against is pie-in-the-sky fantasies that the government can mandate a renewable-only world but no nuclear in a short period of time. In many parts of the country, wind and solar aren't workable solutions, and it would lead to people paying substantially higher energy bills and would devastate the economy. I remember when Obamacare was being debated a decade ago, it was common to hear people on the left say things like, if this law increases the number of people with health care, it'll be worth it no matter the cost. And that was a nice sounding statement, but an absurd one when you get down to it, because even if we all agree that healthcare is a good thing, cost still has to be considered. So it is too with climate change. The left is good at talking about desired outcomes, but in its demands for change now, it avoids difficult questions about feasibility and cost. And if someone is telling you that the overall cost is going to outweigh the benefit, well, maybe we should slow down instead of making it worse. Really, the left has been saying this for 75 years. The ozone, fluorocarbons, Aquanet, we need to make sure the Amazon is we plant 10 trees for every one we take down. It's impossible for the world to all get on the same page with one energy source. It's going to require a multifaceted approach for a singular problem. Unfortunately, Democrats really don't like to think outside the box. They're fairly myopic in their thought process and believe one thing will solve everything. And in life, we all know that isn't true. Next question, one that a lot of people were upset by. This is an interesting one. Interesting in the sense that the guy is a complete horrible human being, and I have to censor myself based upon what he says. His name is Dr. WDS. And it says, you are a gun effer. Wrap your pretty lips around a barrel and suck. I bet you wish it would shoot in your mouth. Well, so do I. Well, this gentleman went on a tirade, and I think 30 some odd tweets attacking me, my family, making innuendos that he wanted me to die, that he wanted to kill me, that he would take my gun and shove it up my orifice. And I told him not to tease me when he said that. Well, this guy's account is overall done. Twitter decided to block him. I didn't report him. Somebody else did. But ultimately, karma is an absolute pain in the ass at times. If someone is telling you to kill yourself, it's important to understand that this is not okay behavior in a civilized society. It's not normal or acceptable for someone to say something like that to another person. And in the end, he probably really didn't mean it. He is just angry at his mom and dad for not buying him a certain toy when he was younger. He sounds like a millennial. But the first step is to protect your own well-being and distance yourself from that person, period, plain and simple. If someone you know, and it is someone you know, you might want to consider talking to a trusted friend or a family member about the situation, or seek professional help from a therapist or a counselor, because yes, these type of comments can have an impact in a close personal relationship. You look at relationships between a man and a woman, and an abusive relationship in particular, these type of comments can have long-term detrimental effects. So if you are going through that, please get some help. It's also important to remember that you are not alone and that there are resources available to help you. You can reach out to a crisis helpline or suicide prevention hotline, such as the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK, or the Veterans Crisis Line at 988, then press 1. Remember that your life is valuable and that you deserve to be treated with respect and kindness. And you're not owed that, but you deserve it. Don't hesitate to seek help and support when you need it. There's nothing shameful about asking for it. Now to address Dr. WDS in particular, I can't because his account was permanently suspended. I think during times like this in particular, it's important to reflect and remember that being the bigger man is always the better option. But it doesn't quite feel as good, does it? So I'll just end it with, who got the last laugh now? Bitch, your account is gone forever. I win. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. And I got to keep my guns in the process. Folks, thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show tonight. If you'd like to submit a question, you can do it, owner@don'tunfriendme.com. Please do that. You can go to thedumbshow.com as well. And you can go ahead and stop by, say hi. You can pick up some shirts, some hats, some t-shirts from that location, and follow me at The Dumb Show. please do so and join us tonight at 8 o'clock. Thank you so much for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show. God bless, take care of each other, and be nice to each other. There's no reason to ask for somebody's suicide. You're just being a provincial putz. Good night. See you tomorrow.
I'm David Boreanaz with the Cast of SEAL team, and we have an important message for returning vets.
We want you to know if you're struggling to cope, there's help and it's just a phone call away.
The Veterans Crisis Line is staffed with experienced professionals who know your struggles.
There's no greater sacrifice in service to our country. We're able to enjoy our freedoms because of it.
Your service is important, you are important.
For vets and their families, the Veterans Crisis Line is here to help 24 hours a day. Please call